What makes a movie good? What makes a movie great? What makes a movie the greatest ever? Today, we're going to be looking at IMDb's top-rated film of all time, The Shawshank Redemption. The Shawshank Redemption is a 1994 film based on an adapted Stephen King novella. The film was written and directed by Frank Darabont and features Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman in the lead roles. The film portrays the story of Andy Dufresne, a wealthy banker serving a double life sentence in prison for the murder of his wife and her lover. It is a tale of despair, hope, friendship, and ultimate redemption, told over 2 decades spent in Shawshank prison by Andy and his fellow inmates. At the time of making this video, the film sits atop the all-time IMDb rankings, based on a score of 9.3 out of 10. Where the film does not stand top of the mountain is in its commercial success, as in 1994 it was regarded as a relative box office flop on initial release, with moviegoers put off by the subject matter, perceived better viewing options available at the time, and even the name.
Why are you calling the thing the Shawshank Redemption? Nobody can say that.
People really said that? Why'd you call it the Shawshank Redemption?
You won't believe what we hear from people.
Oh, that's my next question.
Oh yeah, Scrimshaw Reduction.
One lady stopped me in the elevator and said, "I just saw you in the Hudsucker Reduction."
This box office failure is something the film shares with a number of other greats, such as Citizen Kane. The critical recognition of 7 Academy Award nominations translated into 0 wins on the night, completing the underwhelming first impression for a movie which is now held in the highest of regard. The film grew in popularity over time as it was recognised for its excellence, garnering better commercial success through home video and DVD purchases, and a later re-release in the cinemas. In a way, this slow burn response beautifully mirrors a theme of the film, that with patience, persistence, and hope, you can find your place in the sun. So what makes it such a beloved film? As with most great movies, The Shawshank Redemption is the singular vision of a thoughtful screenwriter and director who was inspired to commit this story to film. Not driven by financial targets or studio executive think tanks, Frank Darabont's passion for the project is conveyed throughout this picture. The screenplay is regarded by some as one of the greatest scripts ever crafted.
It was an incredible script.
Yes.
I read the script without knowing which character I was being told to read for. Nobody told me which character to read for.
Really?
And then he said, no, they want you to play Red.
It was a beautiful script. Frank wrote a truly extraordinary script, and I would suggest anyone that is learning how to write screenplays to read that script. It's so beautifully constructed.
The film is perfectly cast, with an ensemble of actors at the top of their game. The music score by Thomas Newman is beautiful and perfectly in sync with the visuals and underlying emotional intent of the film.
I tell you, those voices soared, higher and farther than anybody in a great place dares to dream. It was like some beautiful bird flapped into our drab little cage and made those walls dissolve away. And for the briefest of moments, every last man at Shawshank felt free.
The cinematography and editing provide purpose, superb pacing, and visualise the written word incredibly effectively. What makes The Shawshank Redemption soar above other superb films with similar attributes, though, is something much simpler and fundamental. It is the beauty of the story told. Fundamentally, human beings crave stories, and particularly those with which they can connect on an emotional basis. As Jung observed, myths and religions, past and present, display remarkably similar patterns, themes and symbols. It is no coincidence that The Shawshank Redemption explores the majority of these archetypes across the 142 minutes of runtime. In Andy Dufresne, we have a man who is unjustly broken apart and stripped of all his fundamental human needs. A quiet, stoic and thoughtful man who we can easily empathise with as he is abused and humiliated. Further empathy with Andy is expertly conveyed to the audience through the eyes and narration of Morgan Freeman's implicitly trusted character, Red. The sadness that this introduction engenders sets up the film to build back hope in a deliberate, slow and careful way. The subtle character arcs of the inmates grows our connection to Andy, as we see the positive impacts that hope, care and support can have on those in the darkest of places. These plot points are not rushed, allowing us to form deeper connections to these characters, making the untimely death of Brooks and Tommy all the more heart-wrenching. The film builds to a rewarding climax when hope does prevail. The filmmaking enhances this release. The plot twist of his escape is beautifully realised and subtly hidden throughout the film. Whilst a plot twist in of itself does not make a great film, it really is the icing on the cake following 2 hours of an emotional rollercoaster. The catharsis is finally complete when Red makes the choice to join his friend in Zihuatanejo, providing the fitting bookend to a film which started with Andy alone in the dark and ends with him reunited with his dearest friend to the backdrop of blue skies and the eternal ocean. The Shawshank Redemption is a story of tragedy, overcoming monsters, a noble quest, rags to riches, rebirth, an exploration of the human psyche, the voyage and return home from the inhumane institution of the prison, and an epic love story told about long-lasting platonic friendship. The themes of this film are therefore many and varied, allowing it to connect with all viewers on their own individual level. Therein lies its greatness. I vividly remember my first viewing of this film, the emotions I experienced, and the satisfaction of the payoff at the end. Even though I was just a teenager, I knew I'd experienced something special that would stay with me. To this day, a re-watching of this film still has the same potent effect on me as it did on my first viewing. And it is a movie that I can guarantee will bring me to tears of sadness and joy. At the end of the day, assigning any film with the mantle of the greatest movie ever is a subjective point of view, and ultimately irrelevant to any individual person whose own life experiences will determine how art interacts with them. Having said that, for me personally, I do fall on the side of saying yes, The Shawshank Redemption is the greatest movie I've ever seen. And for me, that's good enough. Thank you for watching.